Ride the Big 12 roller coaster with Sonny Dykes and TCU. How about this? 5-7, then 13 wins and a trip to the national championship game. Remember that? And then 5-7, and then bam, up to 9-4 last year. TCU seems to be one of those teams that can vie for a Big 12 championship game, no doubt, or they could win 4 or 5 games. It's a pretty difficult schedule for the Horned Frogs. We will get to that in just a second, but first we start at quarterback with Josh Hoover. Probably haven't seen him play too much. Most people haven't, as TCU was kind of off the radar despite the 9 wins last season. They played in a meaningless bowl game against Louisiana. Josh Hoover, 66% completion percentage, just a tick under 4,000 yards passing. 27 touchdowns, 11 picks. He is set for a big year. If TCU's got to go to the backup quarterback, they're in a decent place, more so than most college football teams. 22 starts out of Ken Seals at Vanderbilt. The wide receiver position at TCU over the last 15 years has been stout, and it was again in 2024. But that does not bode well for 25 because TCU lost 3 wide receivers to the NFL who totaled 179 catches. Who's coming back? Eric McAllister is most notable, 39 receptions and 5 touchdowns. Otherwise, Sonny Dykes and crew went to the transfer portal to find some pass catchers, and Jordan Dwyer, 78 catches, 12 touchdowns, almost 1,200 yards at Idaho. Joseph Manjack has put together a bit of a career at Houston and USC, 90 catches and 10 touchdowns. And then the running back position needs to be fortified definitely. This team could not run the football last year, 112th in the nation in rushing. Kavorian Barnes picked up from Texas San Antonio, where he had his best season back in 2022. That seems like forever ago. 845 yards then. And Jeremy Payne is the best of the holdovers, 239 yards and 3 touchdowns. So TCU does not look in prime position to improve its running game, and that's going to be necessary. Hoover can't be asked to throw the ball 50 times, despite, again, an excellent season last year. The interception will come if Josh Hoover does not have the support in the running game. Up front, TCU's got 93 starts coming back from the offensive line, including Ryan Hughes, who's got the most potential. Former Boise State head coach Andy Avalos heads up the TCU defense for a second consecutive season. They were pretty marginal last year, 45th in total defense. That's decent. 63rd in scoring defense, led by the linebackers. Definitely here. Devian Deal, 46 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks. Nnamdi Obiazor had 81 tackles, 9 tackles for loss. Caleb Elamzor, 54 stops and 4.5 tackles for loss. TCU's got some starting experience to a certain extent coming back up front. Basically guys that were fill-in players who started some games, but 3 defensive linemen who didn't really make an impact last year. Again, they were backups and fill-in guys that are going to have to be the starters this year. They did pick up Ansel Din Mumba from Washington State, where he had 6 sacks for the Cougars last year. Marcus Deal coming back, 7 starts, 4.5 tackles for loss. And then the safety position is the strength of the defense, no doubt. Love Jamel Johnson, 73 stops, and Bud Clark, 67 tackles and 3 picks. The number 1 corner coming back at least is Channing Canada after wrapping up 31 tackles and a pick last year. The place kicker is back, but he missed some kicks. Kyle Lemmerman should be better than 15 out of 22 because TCU, just much like the Big 12, probably going to play in a lot of tight football games. TCU 2024 edition benefited from a light touch in terms of a Big 12 schedule, but they do not get that benefit this year. But before they can tangle with their conference foes, a couple non-conference foes will be difficult to deal with, especially on the road at North Carolina in a much ballyhooed game against Bill Belichick in his debut on Labor Day night. Kind of brings back memories of Deion Sanders' debut at Colorado, which was against TCU. TCU coming off the national championship game appearance at that point. But all the publicity and the attention went to Coach Sanders. Again, TCU is going to be in that similar spot. Everybody focused on Belichick in Carolina. TCU at UNC on Labor Day evening. A couple weeks later, September 20th, they get a matchup against SMU at home. They were drubbed by the playoff-bound Mustangs last year, 66-42. All right, then in terms of the conference schedule, at Arizona State, Colorado, at Kansas State, Baylor out of the gate. Also a back-to-back with Iowa State and BYU later in the season. So difficult Big 12 schedule. They really don't miss anyone of consequence, at least in terms of our preseason projections. If they can make it to the final 2 games, play tough in those first 7, let's say arrive at game 8 in the Big 12 at 5-2, they wrap up with Houston and Cincinnati and should be able to navigate those 2 if they are clearly a Big 12 contender. Did I say contender? Well, I don't have TCU quite in late November contending status at 5 wins and 4 losses in the Big 12 and a loss to SMU, a loss to North Carolina. Who did they lose to non-conference? Well, we will find out because we all get together in week 0 for a big schedule party. We're going to run through the entire schedule starting with week 0 early in that week. So be looking out for the notifications. We get together. We're going to run through the entire schedule starting with week 0, add up all the records, predict all the games, and see where it lands right here at the Voice of College Football.